Hey guys, welcome to the Training Captain. Today we're going to be talking about the FCU, which is the Flight Control Unit, and this is the main way that we as pilots interact between the autopilot and what we've set up in the aircraft, and how we interact with the autopilot when we're in flight, and how we can adapt what we've got set up in the aircraft as well. It's here on a glare shield. It's fairly central in front of both pilots in the middle of the aircraft. On the left hand side here we have an EFIS control unit, and it's mirrored on the right hand side as well for the first officer. In the middle we've got a section here we can control our altitude, speed, heading, and also select the autopilots and a couple of other little buttons that we've got there as well. So if we have a little bit of a closer look, like I said, left and right section are mirrored, they're exactly the same. First of all, this little switch on the left, that's to have a little play around with the QNH and the pressure settings. Obviously when on the ground we would select the current pressure setting we'd get from the ATIS weather or from air traffic control, and both pilots will need to select this and make sure they're on the correct one. Twist knob here, we can increase it or decrease it to go up and down, or we can pull it to go on a standard pressure setting once we're flying a little bit higher at flight levels. Got two buttons here. Flight director push button, which is displayed on the left and the right. We've turned it off, we don't usually do this, usually keep it on 1 FT2, and that's going to give us some flight director bars just about here, which the aircraft is going to follow. And also on the navigation display here. Next to that, LS push button, or ILS push button when we're coming into land. That's going to show us our deviation here for the localizer, and also for the glide slope as well. If you're manually flying, it's very handy, but if not, the autopilot's also going to need that, so we can lock onto the ILS for the selected runway. More selections here. This is for our navigational screen, which is the right hand screen in front of the captain there. Plan mode, we'd usually have this north at the top when we're planning out our route either on the ground or in the air, to get a good idea of what it looks like. Arc mode, generally we'd have that on most flights. And we've got a scale here going down to 10 miles with some little range rings here. Our scale goes all the way up to 320 miles for once we're up in the air in the cruise. We can have a look what's up ahead of us as well. Left selection knob. Like I said, we've got nav. That's more of a traditional compass rose setting, which you'll be used to seeing in light aircraft. Goes around to VOR and an ILS version of that as well. Like I said, we generally use plan once we're planning out our route, and then once we're airborne, we'd keep it in arc mode. Just underneath that, we have a couple of toggle switches, VOR, ADF. We can select to display any selected VOR or ADF at the bottom left or bottom right of the navigation display. Once again, that can be viewed on the captain's side or the first officer. Speed mach, we can use this selection knob here. ATC gives a speed, we can pull that, twist it to the left or the right to increase or decrease, and the little speed mach push button to switch between the two. Same thing with heading, we pull that, we can have a selected heading if ATC asks us to veer off course for whatever reason. That will show heading, and then if we push it, it goes back into nav, and that will follow our green line on our navigation route that we have previously entered. Next up, we've got heading vertical speed. This is what we'd normally expect to see the aircraft in. These are the basic modes of the aircraft. Track FPA, flight path angle as well, which we can also select. For instance, if there's no glide slope, we can manually select a degrees setting, say 3 degrees down, if we need to follow that. Autopilot 1, autopilot 2, and we've got an auto thrust push button in the middle here as well. So to the right of that, we've got an altitude selection knob, so that can go between 1,000 feet or 100 feet. There's a smaller and a larger knob for rotating that, and we'll be able to see in blue here the selected altitude or the flight level that we have selected. To the right of that, metric altitude, that's going to switch us between meters or feet, depending where you are and what you prefer using. We're allowed to use that. Expedite mode, if you want to expedite the climb or the descent, this is used on occasion, not very often, but it is an option there. Approach push button, like I said, if you're doing a landing in the aircraft, Once you're cleared for approach, you'll push the approach push button, and that's going to lock onto the approach mode you've selected. Vertical speed, we can twist this up, we can twist it down, and that's used quite often just to level the aircraft off or to shallow the climb rate or the descent rate as well to a selected altitude that we've got. Quite handy there if we're in congested airspace and we don't want to go climbing up too close to aircraft that are above us. Right hand side, like I said earlier, this is mirrored exactly the same for the first officer, and allows them to control their own screen independently from the captain. There we go, that is the FCU unit explained very, very briefly, but I hope that gives you a little bit more of an insight. See you soon.